You see, sports is major business. Not only cricket, but all sports, especially golf also. Now the thing is, how did cricket happen? And it happened because of the infra. The number of international level facilities we have, grounds we have throughout India, not only big cities. So till you don't develop infrastructure, you're not going to get a champion. Like if you see the Indian team, both men's and women's, there's just a handful of players who play in the international circuit. And whenever there is an Asian Games or an Olympic, it's the same persons who represent India.
Right.
That only shows that we have a very small pool of international players. So to have champions, you need the infrastructure and you need lots of it. Like we have, at least in one way, we should emulate cricket in the sense that we have to have the infrastructure. Otherwise, we are not going to get champions.
Right. Pleasure to have you, Dibakar sir. It's actually more than a pleasure, it's an honor. I think, we all talk about sports and we are passionate about golf. But I think very few people actually go to the depth of understanding what does it take to make that sport happen, to make that sporting infrastructure together. And in my mind, you are one of the foremost professionals that I have encountered, especially around golf, who's dedicated a large part of your career in building these facilities. So it's an honor to have you here. So let me start by actually asking you this, that we all talk about how important sports is to the development of a nation. But we seldom talk about the infrastructure it takes to really build that talent. So what are your views about it? Because you've been so passionately involved in it.
First of all, thank you, Samant, for having me. Very interesting topic, actually, especially since we are thinking of hosting the Olympic Games. In fact, today's newspaper, I read a very interesting article of how Saudi Arabia is investing a lot in creating sports infrastructure as well as promoting sports, various sports. It says that Saudi Arabia has spent 51 billion USD in the last 8 years. And it's not just for promoting sports, actually. They're looking at it, in a much more diverse manner in economic benefits, actually. I believe after spending that much of money, the Saudi economy, 1% of the GDP has increased by investing in sports.
Wow.
So that's how it works out. And as you know now, they have also got the 2034 FIFA World Cup.
Right.
Now the FIFA World Cup is one of the few events actually in which a nation can make money actually.
Right.
Unlike the Olympic Games. The FIFA World Cup is one of the most, lucrative of the sporting events in the world. So that's how it works out. Actually, unfortunately, in our nation at the moment, infra is the biggest problem as far as sports is concerned. Very few cities do have the infrastructure for promoting sports, any type of sport. If you come to golf, for instance, you will see that there are barely a couple of hundred courses in the country, out of which around 50% of them belong to the armed forces. The armed forces courses have got two limitations. Number one is not accessible to the general public, and even if it is so, they've got very limited facilities. And the quality of the courses is also not amenable for promoting a higher level of the game. The remaining 50% of the courses, most of them are membership oriented, in which again accessibility for anybody becomes a problem. Most of the courses that are coming up these days are generally 9-hole courses, which are more towards residential development. So we have very few courses where actually one can promote the game. That's how many years back the Delhi Development Authority had thought about developing public golf courses, which we have in Europe, in US, they call public golf courses or municipal golf courses.
Right.
So that's how this Kutub golf course came up. Thanks to the then Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, Mr. Vijay Kapoor, this course came up actually. Unfortunately, what happened was, as is generally the norm in government infrastructure development, we lost a lot of time and we had to compromise with the length of the course. Today it stands only at around 6,100 yards, which is less for a championship course. Otherwise, initially it was proposed to be a plus 7,000 course, yards course. So, in Delhi, many people, and the majority of people who play on this course, actually learn the game of golf from here. So it only proves the point that if you have infrastructure, people indulge in the sports. And it is not only cities that we should develop it. We should go to smaller towns in the country to develop the sport. Like you see in the game of cricket, what happened in the nation. Earlier, the Indian national team used to be largely from players from Delhi and Mumbai. Now India is, the powerhouse of the game of sports, of cricket, where India doesn't play, that tournament doesn't happen, simple as that.
Yeah.
So, how did it come about? Because of the growth of the game in smaller towns.
Right.
Most of the players in today's Indian cricket team are from smaller towns.
Right.
So, that's how even golf is to spread throughout the country. And the best part is that since we have nowadays got very good transport infrastructure, highways, one can develop golf courses around the city also, say within a drivable distance of say 1 or 2 hours, one can have courses there,
Sure.
where land is available and transport is not a problem.
Right.
So that is how we have to develop the game. Otherwise, with these very limited courses within the city, we will not be able to promote it.
So I think I must chime in here because I am a beneficiary of that. If it had not been for this facility, I don't think I would have taken up the sport. And that is why I feel so much more about a public golf course infrastructure, because that is where, especially for a sport like golf, I think accessibility is a problem. The whole notion that it is played behind the walls, exclusive clubs, and that needs to be broken. So I think clearly Kutub and DDA has done a tremendous job in terms of building these facilities. And I know that there are 2 more golf courses now in Delhi NCR which are run by DDA. So fantastic. So sir, let's talk about you talked about a very important point about the monetization, because sometimes the problem with sports is it's only looked at as an expense and tied to national pride. And it is from a government's balance sheet perspective, it is only seen to be an expense. And that, to my mind, should change. Unless, like you talked about, Saudi making money out of FIFA or countries making money out of it. So what, according to you, is the right template for the sport to actually break that thought process of just being a expense item? What can we do more, or what can we do differently to kind of think about this?
Well, a couple of things actually. Number one is that, as far as I understand, in some of the sporting nations, great sporting nations like for instance the USA, the government doesn't directly spend rather on the sports persons actually. They don't directly spend, unlike what we did in India. Like in the recent Olympic Games, the government spent a lot of money on all the athletes. Of course, we are a nation, very sadly, lacking, very major sports heroes. But in a country like US, it's not that the government spends on that. The sports persons themselves, they have to get sponsors. The good part is that they have a very good collegiate system in all the sports.
Correct.
So at the collegiate level, they come up. So it is not just the government. Actually, as far as golf courses are concerned, we should incentivize private players in other ways that they get into development of courses. I don't know why in India the corporate houses don't make golf courses. We have to look into that actually.
Right, right. That's interesting. So coming to the other side of the picture in terms of something like a QGL, this whole advent of leagues, the intent is that you again capture the imagination of a new breed of players. Again, you talked about sponsors, get the corporates involved, and at the end of the day, monetize these better. So what more can be done from a league perspective, or what are your thoughts on that in terms of making this sport a little more popular?
Actually, I'm very happy that Samant Diola brought this QGL to a public golf course, because these golf leagues are happening in many cities in India and many courses. Unfortunately, those teams are restricted to the members of that particular golf club. This is the first instance that at a public golf course, we have brought this concept of a league. And in the teams, large number of players would be people who are from many other golf courses. So this is a unique thing that you have started, and I'm sure you'll do very well. And this is how we can promote it, because when people play in that at a very passionate level, and it'll get promoted and it'll spread to other golf courses and other cities also. This is very important because, well, you may not have the professional players coming in, but people watch, you see how this game is played at a passionate level, at a very competitive level.
Right.
That helps in getting youngsters into the game, who would thereafter get into who may try to qualify into the PGTI and thereafter go to the Asian and the European level.
Right. No, I think you hit a chord there. The aspiration here, even like you rightly said, within the team, this whole inclusivity theme, to say that we don't want just the best players to come. We want ladies to come, juniors to come, seniors to play, people from armed forces to play, government to play, to ensure that there is a balance of representation from different backgrounds, different services. And then you compete. The level of competition is then between these teams is something that we want to bring out. The other important thing that you mentioned is also very dear to us, to say that next year we want to take it to multiple courses also. To say how can we take it to multiple courses, maybe multiple cities over a period of time, depending upon how the franchisees build up. But yeah, that's the aspiration, that we take this inclusivity agenda and spin it around golf and give everybody a chance, actually, specifically people who are not members of any course, to be part of a fraternity like this, a league like this. So that's important. Lastly, sir, I also wanted to draw your thoughts on, from let's say a government perspective, what are the 3-4 things that you can look at, especially from a tourism perspective? Because a lot of the other countries that we see, especially in Southeast Asia and somewhere in Europe, they have actually used golf as a very strong tourism agenda. I mean, you talked about 100 golf courses. Thailand, I'm told, has maybe 4-5 times the golf courses that we have, and you compare the landmass that we have and they have. Europe similarly, has a very interesting, Scotland has a very interesting golfing circuit. So what can we do from that perspective also to build, again, it's a chicken and egg story. If we can build this infrastructure, we can take that, build that part of the monetization as well.
Interesting thought. You see, golf and tourism, they are very closely related. As you mentioned, Southeast Asia, that's how they operate. It also depends a lot on infrastructure and availability of the golf courses. Now, for that, there are many things that one has to work out. Number one is the number of golf courses has to be increased. And it's not just any golf course, you see. Because when you talk about, say, Thailand, as you mentioned, most of the courses which attract tourists are actually designer courses. They're made by, they're designed by, very large, design companies. And their maintenance is at a totally different level. and most of them are all fit for championship level games. Unfortunately, like in Kutub, as I mentioned, because we have the constraints here, that this is just a very short course, is not a championship level course. But when you talk about those courses, there are different, you see, at a different level itself, because they can actually hold tournaments, international tournaments. Like if you see that probably in NCR, there is only one course that can be compared to it, that is, as it is, obviously it is DLF.
Right.
There is none other.
Yeah.
Because it is not only the length of the course, but you should have a lot of circulation space between the fairways to allow the movement of the crowd,
Right.
As well as facilities like the TV crew and other things. Now, when you come to Thailand, they promote tourism. Like, for instance, you see the number of countries they have now given citizens of countries that visa-free travel is there.
Right.
I was reading yesterday that Thailand has exceeded the number of Indian tourists to the number which is higher than the pre-COVID level.
Wow.
The number of flights, you see, have increased. Then number two is the infrastructure, which luckily we are making in the terms of highways. Now, when you go to play in Thailand, you don't realize actually you are traveling almost 100 kilometers to access a golf course.
Right.
Because the freeways are very fast. Those we are making now. So that's why around the freeways, if we have land, we should be able to develop those.
Right.
The private players should come in.
Yeah.
Because the government cannot always make golf courses and maintain them, because there are various constraints for the government. But the private developers can come and make golf courses there. Number three is you need hotel infrastructure. When tourists come,
Yeah.
now the hotels here, unfortunately in India, are frightfully expensive, you see.
Yeah.
So we somehow have to work around it, how we can get cheaper but good quality accommodation. So there are many things interlinked actually to promote golf to make golf as golfing the tourism related thing in India. That is a very important point. And the other thing is, where there are very large vertical tourist attractions, we should make golf courses there.
Right.
Like we have, for instance, the Ajanta Ellora caves. There's a lot of land I see out there near Aurangabad.
Right.
We should make golf courses there.
Absolutely.
Resort courses there. We have like the Buddha Gaya, like the Japanese, the Koreans. A lot of them come there every year for the Buddhist circuit. And there's a lot of land available. I don't know why we can't make golf course there. Because that is cheap out there.
They love golf.
So we should think in those ways, actually, how to promote the game as well as also give tourism a boost, actually.
So I'm actually, from this conversation and going back to the point that you made, I'm fairly certain that if somebody joins the dots, we have all the dots, we just need to join them. This can actually add to our GDP. It is not just about looking at it from a sports perspective or looking at it only from a creating more players perspective. I think what it can create apart from that, the benefits are pretty large. Economic benefits, tourism benefits, employment benefits, and stuff like that. The other things, if you could also touch upon, is there is again a myth, if I may say, or an opinion about building and maintenance of golf courses. Another point where I'd love to draw your opinion and comments would be around this whole perception about golf as an elitist sport, and then linked to that it takes obviously land, but then the maintenance of that land, and sometimes it is talked about whether is India climatically the right place, do we have the right geographical balance? Like somewhere in US and all, one state has few hundred golf courses. So is it really tough to build golf courses in India and maintain them?
The straight answer is not difficult. But you see, one thing leads to other. In India, not more than one or two proper golf courses. I'm not talking about those property-related golf courses, 9-hole ones. Those are not golf courses. They are just one odd golf course under construction at any point of time. Now what happens is, since the business is so small, there are very few golf course construction companies there. Very few Indian golf design companies are there. And obviously, there are very, very few people who are capable of properly maintaining and operating a golf course. Whatever there are, those are all club oriented. As a result, what happens is the golf courses that are made, most of them, except for a handful of courses, most of the golf courses in India are not amenable for international level championship play. And if they are frightfully expensive because of the maintenance cost, because you don't have, there is a dearth of manpower, qualified manpower. But no, golf course can be made and maintained in any climatic zone. Like you have the technology these days, like there is something called a sub-air system. The sub-air system is used not only for golf courses, it is used also for cricket pitches and football pitches.
Indeed.
That helps in draining the excess water.
Yeah.
Like many European football pitches, they have these sub-air systems. Many cricket pitches in the world, they have the sub-air system. So as soon as the water, the rain stops, within half an hour, it gets drained out and you can start resume play.
Right.
These sub-air systems also are used in many courses in, say, Dubai, which under the greens, the sub-air system is laid. And because the surface temperature becomes so high that the grass can die, so they pump in cool air or cool water under the greens so that the roots of the grass, they remain cool. Similarly, in Europe, the sub-air system can be used to pump warm water under the golf greens so that the greens don't die out in the cold, in winter. So technology is there, and there are different types of grass one can use for different climatic zones that remain green throughout the year, playable throughout the year. So there is technology, there is no problem of maintaining it.
Right.
You have to invest in technology, and we have invested manpower. That's it.
Interesting. Another belief that I've had is that for golf to become more popular, it has to be taken out of the golf course. And one of the things I believe that if you want to expose people about what this game is, you need to somehow not get them into the golf course, but take golf to them, which could be doing small clinics or maybe creating an infrastructure of this whole standardized or separate driving ranges, which require lesser amount of area, lesser amount of maintenance, but then they give accessibility to people. What are your thoughts on that, and how can that really play in terms of expanding our accessibility to golf?
Absolutely agree. Everywhere you don't need golf courses. You need driving ranges at areas which are near residential neighborhoods. Now the driving ranges also, you can have two types actually. One can involve multinational companies like Top Golf and all.
Right.
In some places, the way they can make very fancy ones. Like, as you know, the concept of Top Golf is one can practice, as well as there are a lot of back-end facilities where there is, F&B
Right.
and other things. So that they can make money out of that. These become very major attractions in big cities, especially, as nighttime activity. Apart from that, you need, where there are open tracts of land, even temporarily.
Yeah.
You don't need a permanent allocation of these government lands. Government should consider allotting these unused land at the moment near about the cities, which can be given to individuals to run a driving range temporarily.
Right.
Till it is used for the government plans to bring it to its intended use.
Sure.
Till that time, one can use for temporary golf course. All you don't even need a fencing. If it is a wide open land, you don't need expensive fencing. I have seen in the US, in open lands, just a family runs a driving range.
Yeah.
They have got a van in which they can make you some sandwiches or some hot dog or something, and they've got the ball they give in rent, and they've got some clubs which you can hire. As simple as that. We should think on those lines actually.
Sure.
And the other thing is, we should have the small pitch and putt courses.
Right.
In fact, DDA was the first public body which made a pitch and putt course in India.
Right.
In fact, there were no pitch and putt courses in India before that, which we made at Sirifort around 25 years back.
Wow.
Again, thanks to the then Lieutenant Governor, Mr. Vijay Kapoor. And we should have more pitch and putt courses so that, it helps in two ways. One, it popularizes the game, and it also, for good players also, it is ideal for practicing the short game.
Right.
So that's how we take golf. We don't have to make massive courses everywhere.
Right. No, very, very interesting. And I think each of the points that you are making, at the end of the day, for me, the business side of the equation is very important. Unless the business side of the equation is not solved for, and all these initiatives are not self-sustainable, I think a lot of good has been done, but it has died. It has not been becoming, it has not seen the light of long term. So if we can weave all these ideas together, make them a business viable, then I think we have a very good story coming up as far as specifically about single sports in India. What we are seeing now is that all parents today, of course, cricket has the big bucks, but I think the parents are now starting to encourage kids, whether it is about badminton, whether it is about, any other shooting and so on and so forth. So what is your view? Are we waiting for our 1983 cricket moment in golf, which will really open the floodgates in terms of this sport becoming popular? So again, chicken and egg question, will that drive people to take up this sport, or will the infrastructure, putting the horse in front of the cart, will drive? So what are your thoughts there?
You see, sports is major business. Not only cricket, but all sports, especially golf also. Now the thing is, how did cricket happen? And it happened because of the infra. The number of international level facilities we have, grounds we have throughout India, not only big cities. So till you don't develop infrastructure, you're not going to get a champion. Like if you see the Indian team, both men's and women's, there's just a handful of players who play in the international circuit. And whenever there is an Asian Games or an Olympic, it's the same persons who represent India.
Right.
That only shows that we have a very small pool of international players. So to have champions, you need the infrastructure, and you need lots of it. Like we have, at least in one way, we should emulate cricket in the sense that we have to have the infrastructure. Otherwise, we are not going to get champions.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be hosting Mr. Dibakar Sarkar today. For people who may not know, Mr. Sarkar recently retired from the DDA as the Commissioner of Sports. He's been, at his stint at DDA, he championed the cause of sporting facilities in Delhi NCR. We now have 17 sports complexes, 5 center of excellences, 3 golf courses, out of which one is a championship golf course, which is getting inaugurated anytime now, 3 driving ranges, India's first chip and putt course. So all that legacy, we couldn't find a better person to speak to about the infrastructure of sports and golf in India. So pleasure to have you with us today, sir. So it's been a really amazing discussion with you, and we've brought out really good facets about the sporting infrastructure and golf. And I think I am even more positive about how this sport will grow in India and has the potential of actually adding to our economic progress, adding to the GDP. So any 2-3 things that you would like to leave us with that we could do as a nation to improve the popularity of this sport will be a great takeaway from this session.
I think we have to get into some sort of a PPP mode, you see, to promote the game of golf as far as infrastructure is concerned. The government, as I said, can't be made to develop golf courses everywhere. So we have to incentivize private partners to build golf courses. Land is not an issue. Land is available. We have to make sure that, infrastructure is there. What do you need for a golf course? You need easy accessibility. You need sufficient amount of water. Not fresh water, it can be treated water. Like even at this golf course, we use sewage treated water. If you incentivize it, then golf course is definitely going to come. That is one thing. Number two, as far as GDP is concerned, we have to link those infra with tourism.
Right.
Because not only are we looking at foreign tourists coming up, can you imagine the number of people whom we employ in a golf course? This is a golf course, small golf course. Even here, around 500 people are directly engaged in running the course. Apart from that, there are several other 100 people who are indirectly also
Sure.
involved in running the course. So we generate employment. So apart from employment, you see how the area gets upgraded.
Yeah.
If this golf course had not been developed here, this would have been a green patch, and I have seen it because we made this golf course. Half of it was fully encroached, giving a very bad neighborhood to all these residential areas here.
Sure.
The moment this golf course came up, the property prices in this place has really shot up. You see,
Yeah.
that's how we have to look at everything. We have to look in also in terms of business.
Right. Right.
That's how we'll work out.
Perfect. So I think it's been a pleasure and an honor to have you, and some really nuggets in those discussions, and hope we can use some of those nuggets and change the course and future of this nation and golf in the country.
Thank you very much, and my very best wishes for all the success for the QGR League.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.